Hey, guys, I'm doing great. It's hot out here, man. It's like 95, 96 degrees.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's smoking.
All right, now, we were talking before we had you on, and the Dodgers are favored in the series. And when I look at the matchups and I look at the rosters, Chris, the only reason I could see that they're favored is Kershaw and Greinke. I think that the Mets are better in every other thing. How do you see it?
Yeah, I see the real difference here is the starting pitching short series. If you're talking a 5-game series, and this is a series that I think with two dominant guys like Kershaw and Greinke, you look at going 1-2. I would look at bringing Kershaw back on short rest if there's a game 4, and then use Greinke on full rest game 5 if there's a game 5. So with that said, as good as these guys have been, their experience and maturity, and sure, people are going to look, and rightfully so, at Clayton Kershaw's postseason numbers, which are not good at all, ERA over 5. But I also take into consideration that his last, 4 starts or so against the St. Louis Cardinals, and I mean, you're talking about facing the same team again and again and again, and a very good team who's had a great run. So I kind of throw those numbers out the window as far as, okay, Kershaw's not that great in the postseason. I think it's heavily weighted, in a negative sense because of his times, facing the Cardinals. But it is the starting pitching. It's a short series. I do like the position players in the Mets lineup, but I think when you got two guys that can pitch really deep into the ball game, it's going to nullify that little spot or so before getting to Kenley Jansen. And on the other side, there are concerns, with the starting pitching of the Mets, just the fact that they're younger, pitching, a little farther and deeper than they've ever gone before in terms of the length of a season, and then under this pressure.
Chris, this is a team that is underachieved as far as their payroll is concerned. There's some speculation if they don't win this series, Don Mattingly could be fired. Do you get a sense that roster is tight in Los Angeles at all?
I would agree. I think the trends and everything else that we see in baseball, I would imagine that if Don Mattingly doesn't get to the World Series with this team, whether it's his fault or not, based upon talent, who's healthy, everything else, I would see that the Dodgers would probably make a change when you consider just over the last several years, the new ownership, and then you're talking about new team president Andrew Friedman and general manager. I think it's one of those situations where we've seen them over the course of this season, which is a little bit odd. You thought that perhaps they would be more active, in July with acquiring players, making some moves, and it seemed like for the most part they kind of just stood still, stuck with what they had. Didn't improve the bullpen significantly like we thought that they would. And it's kind of one of those things. I personally, this is just my opinion, because having been in the game and seen sometimes whether it's a coaching staff and a manager who might be on the hot seat, sometimes coaches not really putting in that extra effort because one of those guys thinks that maybe he gets the job or he gets a shot. I've seen stuff like that. And I kind of wonder when you have a new team in place in terms of upper management, if that new team says, you know what, this really isn't my roster. This is the roster of the former GM. So if we go out and we win this year, we're not going to really get all the credit that we would like to have for it, because people are going to look and say, well, this is Ned Colletti's roster. This is his team. So I think of some, call it conspiracy theory or what, I just think some of those things exist, at least at some level. So getting back to the point with Don Mattingly, I think it's one of those situations where if they don't get to the World Series, he kind of ends up being the fall guy.
We're in the middle of today's Inside Pitch, brought to you by Benzel Busch Motorcar Corp. in Englewood, New Jersey. And we're talking with Chris Singleton, who will be doing the game tonight right here on this station with John Shambi. What do we have in Puig? What type of player is he going to be? He hasn't played a lot in 6 weeks, I believe, and made this miraculous recovery in the last week. How much of a player is he, Chris?
I don't have a lot of confidence, guys, honestly, in what Puig is going to be able to offer them in this postseason. I mean, I saw him this year at the times when he was healthy, and sure, there was a flash here and there of the greatness that is potentially there on a more consistent basis, but never saw any extended type of run. He's missed over 2 months this year with injury on the disabled list. One, after a month in the season, he missed, from like May to June around that time, and then really up until the final month, up until the last couple of games. It seemed like playing towards the end of the season. So I don't know that I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to see much from him. And also with Yasiel Puig, I just am not convinced that he's a primetime player as far as the spotlight, pressure on, and everything else. And until he does it, I don't think I'm going to be a believer. And I think there are more things that kind of go against when you look at his opportunities on the big stage, whether it's an all-star game, whether it's big moments, he really hasn't showed up. So if you miss significant time towards the end, your timing isn't on point. I don't expect a whole lot from him in this postseason.
Now, there's an old adage, don't believe anything you see in March or September. They bring up Corey Seager, and he was great in September. So does that automatically translate into a guy that the Mets have to worry about in the postseason?
Here's why I would say, yeah, you definitely have to, you can't overlook him. You have to make sure that you do pay some attention to him, because he might just be green enough to not really realize what's going on and where he's at, as we see with some of these younger rosters and teams that are getting into the postseason over the last couple of years, and really not. We talk about the pressure going in. Oh, they're going to feel the pressure in September. Oh, they're going to feel the pressure in October. And you see them kind of cruise through a little easier than you expected. And I think sometimes they just don't know. With so many other young stars in the game, they're just kind of like, hey, we're here, we're playing, we're having fun, and it hasn't hit him yet. And so with Seager, I think you could be in a situation, taking nothing away from his talent, but it's in a situation, if you overlook him and don't pay attention to him and allow him to have some pitches that aren't as competitive, he can hurt you.